Good morning, YouTube. Back at it again, another episode of The World is Burning. Shout out to my 760 subscribers. My apologies for not doing any videos. I've just been travelling around the world with work. Big shout out to all the YouTubers who actually have full-time jobs. I'm just doing this as fun. I don't really expect to be a big YouTuber or anything like that. It's not really on the cards. But I don't know how they do it. I've watched loads of YouTube. Yeah, shout out to those people because it's hard as hell. When you're traveling, you're flying, you're doing this, that, and the other, and you're still putting videos out. So, newfound respect for those people. Today, we're going to be looking at big cities going broke. When I tell people the world is burning, the world's going down, this is how it's going to affect most people. The big cities are going to go broke. They're going to put up taxes. They're going to give you less services for those taxes, and we're going to enter this death spiral. Birmingham, second biggest city in the UK, about 7 months ago, declared bankruptcy. Let's see what this video's saying.
Birmingham is officially broke. The City Council, the largest local authority in Europe, is effectively bankrupt. Services for more than 1.1 million people are now under threat, and the Labour leadership under pressure to explain and apologise.
And listen to what she just said there. Listen to what she just said. Services being cut. So when we go to this, and we see this, ministers gave Birmingham City Council permission for the 10% rise in each of the next 2 years on council tax. So your tax is going up 10% every 2 years, but the services are going to get cut, and they're trying to make £300 million worth of cut. We all know that's going to be way, way, way more. And look at this, deficits of 5.2 billion. It doesn't make sense, people. The money doesn't make sense. You're paying more and you're getting less.
For anybody who's
And you better be bloody happy about it.
suffering across the city, you know, anything that impacts them that the council has done wrong, we'll hold up our hands and we will say sorry for. We've seen local government being cut. We've had the council itself has lost over £1 billion worth of funding as a result of consecutive Conservative governments. This has been ongoing. It's not just...
No, and I'm sorry, you can blame it on the Conservative governments, I don't think it's been a Conservative government who's been running Birmingham. None of these local councils know how to use their money properly. They're just burning through money, giving it out left, right and centre, and not actually auditing it and knowing where it's going and having smart people who are actually using the money correctly.
Unique to Birmingham.
What is unique to Birmingham is the council faces a £760 million bill for equal pay claims it still owes after a court ruling in 2012. A botched IT upgrade could cost £100 million, and leaders also...
A botched by IT upgrade, so that didn't even work, people. We're just burning money. This is what I'm saying. I haven't seen this video before I've shown it to you. It didn't even work.
£87 million black hole in the current budget. But the Tory opposition blame mismanagement.
They've been telling the public there was going to be a golden decade to get re-elected, while in fact we now know they built it on fool's gold, where the accounts haven't been signed off and there's no actual allowance made for the debt that they owe.
It's not the first council to announce effective bankruptcy, but it is the largest and provides housing for families in places like Hall Green, which has one of the highest levels of child poverty in the country.
And we speak to families all the time who have really bad problems with mould or mice infestations. Our concern is what little maintenance and support there is available for these families will slowly eke away until there's precious little left.
Teachers worry funding for children with additional needs could be...
And we all know, people, schools are the first one that they start cutting. That's the first budget they start cutting. And when I talk to my friends, they go, oh, we just need to, yeah, we should raise taxes. Or they're like, oh, yeah, no, they just need more money. The money isn't the problem. Look at the homelessness in California. They spend billions on that every single year, and it just gets worse. Until you change the people who are actually just pissing the money up the wall, more money isn't going to change anything.
We rely on that money to be able to get the resources we need for our pupils and to pay for additional adults. We have a speech and language therapist that we pay for that comes to school. Without that funding, we would struggle to provide that.
We won't know exactly which services will be cut until decisions are made in the coming weeks. But in this current cost of living crisis...
Well, I'll tell you, it'll be schools, education, it will be money to food banks, you know, useful stuff like that. It'll probably be some sort of housing cutbacks. But the one thing that they won't be cutting back, let's look at this. Let's start by examining the councillors' pay, pensions and expense accounts. They get a pay rise every year, people. They get a pay rise every year. Don't forget that. Okay, so let's get into it, people. Let's get into it. Oh, in fact, I had this one little page that I wanted to show you as well before we watch some videos. This bit here. Why are so many UK councils in debt? Double-digit inflation in the UK has put several pressures on council budgets, eroding their value in real terms. Inflation's killing everyone right now, and these big municipalities are getting smashed by inflation, so I agree with that. There's growing demand for some services provided by local government, most notably social care. Look into the demographics, people. There's too many old people right now, and they don't have enough savings. They don't have enough money to pay for the care themselves. The actual care homes are expensive as hell, and the government are footing the bill for this, right? That racks up a bill. I know an old guy who's in care, and he actually had to sell his farm, had no family, and it's costing him $4,500 a month. $4,500 a month. So he can pay that. But if you can't pay that, the government's picking up that bill. Councils blame much of their difficulties on big real-term cuts to grants from central governments since the Conservative Party took power in 2010. They're going to keep saying this, guys. They're going to keep blaming it on the Conservative Party. But the other option is, if you don't do big cuts, keep spending and keep borrowing money. The government are borrowing way too much money. You have to cut everything back and actually start spending the money better. That's kind of the point I'm getting to. It's not the fact that it's cutbacks. It's the fact that they're not spending the money better. Right, okay, now let's get into it, guys. I haven't seen any of these videos. Let's see what the world's saying about cities going bankrupt.
The kingdom is in financial trouble again, and this time an entire city has declared itself bankrupt. And this isn't a small village but Birmingham, the second largest city in the United Kingdom. And this is bad because by declaring bankruptcy, the city can effectively stop all non-essential spending. Except for compulsory services, everything will be shut down and the quality of life will plummet in the city. And in our lead story today, Britain's second biggest city declared itself bankrupt. And the reason why? Because it can't afford nearly $1 billion it owes to women it underpaid in the past. And because of this debt, the city council has a deficit of over $100 million in this financial year.
And here's kind of the funny thing about this. So the women have been underpaid, so they are owed this money, okay? Let's just go with that. They're owed this money. But the women who are owed the money live in Birmingham, and now their council tax is going to go up. All this other stuff's going to go up. They're going to have less services from the city, and it's going to affect them as well. So it's a vicious circle, isn't it?
Basically, the city was underpaying female employees. Women in certain male-dominated roles at the city council didn't get the bonuses that men received. And these aren't rich people. They are regular working women doing regular jobs including cleaning, cooks, and caterers. They were pissed off and they took the city council to court and they won. And this finally pushed the city's finances off a cliff to the point of declaring bankruptcy. There's also a fear that the city of Birmingham could even default on their debt. According to Morningstar, 25% of the debt comes from private lenders, while a crazy 65% are from loans from the UK Treasury itself.
So there you go, people. 65% of the debts are loans from the UK Treasury. Birmingham, this isn't the only one. Nottingham's gone through this. Bradford's about to go through this. And the UK Treasury is lending all the money. I mean, I don't even know how that works. I honestly don't even know how that works. We're just lending money from one to another. So the UK itself is just in massive debt.
City council is caught and creditors are on the hook. And their balance sheet is so squeezed that a default will depend on the support from the UK government. Basically, the city needs Rishi Sunak to bail them out. And if it doesn't, payments to debt holders could suddenly stop. But realistically, what are the chances of that? Birmingham is calling out for financial support, but Rishi Sunak is saying no. He is insistent that it isn't the government's job to bail out the council for its financial mismanagement. And to be honest, that might be the right approach. Bailouts always tend to create more moral hazards. But even if he wanted to send money, this time the British government's hands are tied. If we look at the core inflation rate,
because if you're already borrowing 65% and you're the second biggest city, it's not a never-ending money supply. It does have effects down the line. All right, let's go on to the next one, guys.
This is Fort Myers, Florida, the fastest growing city in the fastest growing state in all of North America. But once a quaint beachside community, Fort Myers has become just the latest Florida city, overrun with opportunity that has brought more development, traffic congestion, hotels, and luxury condominiums. Of course, Fort Myers needed the investment as Hurricane Ian devastated much of southwestern Florida just last year. But this new Fort Myers is really just a microcosm of changes happening all across the state of Florida.
1,500 people are moving to Central Florida each week.
Things that draw people to the Sunshine State are the very things challenged by our rapid growth.
There's not enough infrastructure to support that.
There are growing pains.
It isn't just beachy cities impacted by tropical storms either, though Florida certainly experiences more than its fair share of tropical storms. And getting funding and building permits is much easier in cities reeling with disaster. But the redevelopment happening in Florida is happening all over the state. However, much of the development happening in Florida is the same kind of overbuilt and overpriced hotels, offices, and condos that never really seem to be in short supply there. See, Florida has become this recent beacon for American growth and prosperity, first breaking $1 trillion in revenue, then $1.4 trillion seemingly overnight, overtaking New York as the nation's third most populous state in just 2014. But Florida isn't the nation's third biggest economy, that would still be New York, and growth in Florida feels different than what we're seeing with other US states.
Yeah, I find Florida very interesting. I know a few people who've been moving there. Low taxes, seems to be really nice weather, apart from all the crazy, horrific weather situations that go on. But they have their own problems as well. I've heard insurance is a terrible thing right now. Leave me a comment if you're from Florida. How's it going over there?
Birmingham's the UK's third
Birmingham.
biggest city, and it's Europe's largest council, and it's run out of money, and it's a situation that's been years in the making, but the tipping point is that it has had to pay over $1 billion to correct inequality in terms of the pay of its staff over the past 10 years, and it's still got $850 million to pay, and it says it can't meet those payments. On top of that, it's going to have to pay over $100 million to correct an IT system that was only meant to cost $23 million in the first place. But you also factor in...
See, it was supposed to cost $23 million, this IT system. Somehow, some way, it's got to $100 million, and it never worked. If that's not a scam, I don't know what is, guys.
Increased demand in the public services it provides, including social care, as the UK has.
Like, I'm sorry, I'm going to keep on this one here. If you are a company and you do a job for the government or for anyone and it costs $100 million and it doesn't work in the end, you need to go to jail or you need to give the money back. That's literally just what it has to be these days.
Population and the fall in the funding from central government over the past 10 years, you've got a cocktail that's going to create nothing left in the bank. So there is going to be a big knock-on effect for the services it provides. It says it's going to stick to the ones that it has to provide by law, but even those are under threat. By law, councils in England have to provide certain services, so that's things like fixing holes in the road, adult care, social care, education services, collecting refuse and libraries, but they only have to provide those services. The scale and the scope of those services is not defined in law, and that's why even if you use the library or you work in the library, you'll still be worried about scaling back the services that you provide. Now, they've said to the government that they want more money. The government has said, no, that's all the money you're getting. You're responsible for the decisions you make. This is about bad decision making. But the fact of the matter is that this is a growing problem in England. A number of other councils have also gone bust because they've invested their money to try and plug the funding gap in things like solar farms and also property, and those investments have backfired, and there's no cushion to make up for those mistakes. So we know that another council, Stoke-on-Trent, which is also in the Midlands, in the near future will declare that it's run out of money as well. This is a problem that's going to get worse before it gets better. And of course, there is an election, a general election in the UK over a year away. So big political consequences.
Yeah, guys, he's saying it. Start preparing for this. If you're living in the UK, there's a good chance your local district council might be declaring bankrupt. More money doesn't solve the problem, people. Better spending of the money solves the problem. I also hate comments like this. Finally, the stupid Western colonies start dying. Lovely. There's nothing lovely about it, people. The absolute chaos this is going to bring is it's not lovely. It's not a lovely thing. It's years of mismanagement.
Birmingham, UK's second largest.
Okay, I'm not driving, I'm stationary, but I needed to tell you this because my sister just told me that Nottingham City Council has gone bankrupt. So we had Birmingham City Council, we've got Nottingham City Council, and my personal council, Gravesham Borough Council, didn't have enough money to do the fireworks this year. So what the fudge is going on? Is this a sign of thing to? Is this a thing? A sign of things to come ahead? Like, is that what's happening?
100%. This is a sign of things to come. 100%.
It's going to go bust, and then what comes next? Dun, dun, dun. Okay, I'm not.
Yeah, what comes next, people? I'm going to keep saying it. You're going to pay more money on your taxes. You're going to keep getting ripped off. You saw it in that previous video. There are things councils have to statutorily give you, right? But there's no scope to that. They're going to start cutting services. You're going to notice things are going to get worse. And eventually, you're going to wake up and be like, where the bloody hell are we right now? This is crazy. We're paying way too much for absolutely nothing.
Prop firms will go bankrupt. And
she is not the only millennial doing this.
Move to a secondary city. Do it now. I lived in LA and I lived in New York for 10 years.
If you're in LA and New York, get out, people. That's all I'm going to say. Leave me a comment as well. If you're still in LA, if you're still in New York, why are you still there? What is keeping you there?
It was great. It did what it needed to do for my hustle and my grind. When you hit 30, move to a secondary city. Literally do it. You'll save money. You'll have a more comfortable lifestyle. Your body will thank you because like we're getting up there. We need a little bit more space, a little bit more air to breathe, some trees. Look into secondary cities, people.
There's a wave of young people leaving big cities, and Bank of America actually did a survey to see which of those cities they are. These cities include Los Angeles, where the average home sale price is $1 million, and the average rent is $3,200. Groceries, which matter, are 11% higher than the national average.
Ridiculous.
Next, there's Boston, where the average home price is $830,000. The average rent, which actually shocked me, is $37,000. That's a lot. And grocery prices were also 11% higher than the national average. San Jose, which is pretty close to Silicon Valley, is another city young people are leaving. The average cost of a home is $1.4 million. And rent is about $2,700. Groceries, and this shocked me, is 21% higher than the national average. You are really paying a lot for that avocado. New York, which we all know is very expensive, is losing young people. The average home price is $1.2 million. The average rent is over $4,600. And grocery prices?
$4,600 for rent, and it's a shitty little flat that you're going to get. Guys, none of it makes sense anymore. None of it makes sense anymore.
Are 30% higher here than the national average. This is actually one of the reasons why I literally buy fruit from the street. And then there's San Francisco, which has an average home price of $1.3 million. And the average apartment rent is a little over $3,600. And groceries, just like New York, are 30% higher than the national average. A part of me hopes that there's a massive exodus of young people leaving these big cities, because I think if cities get desperate enough for young people, for talent, that they will have to address these economic inequalities. What do you think?
Leave me a comment, guys. What do you think? I think she's spot on the money here. It's too expensive for young people. Young people are going to migrate to a cheaper place that's just more aligned for them doing better. New York ain't the place anymore. Los Angeles isn't the place. Even Boston. I love Boston. That shocked me how high Boston's rent was. But yeah, leave me a comment, guys. What do you think? I think the next 12 months we're going to start seeing more and more of these councils, more and more of these areas in America declaring bankruptcy, and there's not enough money from the government to get them out of the hole. The more money isn't going to solve it, and we're going to enter the death spiral of these big cities. Leave me a comment, guys. We'll leave it there, and I'll catch you on the next one. Bye.